What is going on, 49ers fans? We've got some news. The NFL's having their meetings down in South Florida, and we had John Lynch, who spent some time with the very select few media members and let some stuff out that I think is paramount to what's happened to this 49ers offseason. And that's Dee Ford. The 49ers traded for Dee Ford, a few years ago when Kyle Shanahan, their first full offseason, they gave up a second-round pick for him. And not only did they do a second-round pick, they paid pretty well. They gave up a big contract. Well, it appears that all is coming to an end this year. And it's on the heels of not one, not two, but three restructures. Now, a couple things that I think are very, very important because, one, we have to step back and say, okay, was the trade good? Was the trade bad? All those things. Dee Ford was incredible when the 49ers first got him. He only played in 18 games throughout the length of his career with the 49ers. That's awful. That's terrible. But in that 2017 year, the 11 games he played in with the 49ers before he got hurt, the 49ers went 10-1. You remember we came off to that awesome start. We're 9-0 and all those things. That doesn't happen without Dee Ford there. Now, does that mean we have a losing record without him? No. That's not what I'm saying either. But what Dee Ford was able to accomplish in that one short 2017 year, he had 8.5 sacks. We saw what this defense could be with Bosa and an elite speed edge on the other side. And after that, it dissipated. It went away. The back, it started with the lower leg, then it was the back, then it was the neck, right? Like all these, it wasn't working. It just wasn't working. And the 49ers started kicking the can down the road. Man, it hurts. It sucks that he's gone. And we're going to talk a little bit more about his contract. We'll get into some of that. But, man, Bro Montana says this. I know David Ojabo was projected as first round in the draft before injury. Is he worth it if he falls to the third? I don't think he'll fall to the third. The 61st pick, possibly. But, again, undersized, elite first step edge rusher. Now it's an Achilles. And Achilles usually aren't chronic issues. But if you draft Ojabo, you're not getting him till December at the earliest. It's a 9-month turnaround on Achilles, which just happened last month. A couple weeks ago, sorry. So you're talking March, all the way up till you have to basically plan that he will not take any snaps. Maybe if you make the playoffs, he will. But even then, that'd be his first game action as a rookie. Is he worth it long-term? 100%. This was a kid that was going to go top 10. But this is on the heels. This is on the heels of the Dee Ford news. Now, what was his contract? His contract was huge, right? He got a 5-year, $85.5 million deal. And we traded that second rounder for him. Well, how much of that money did he get of the $85.5 million? When it's all said and done, he's going to make $41 million. We overpaid. I wouldn't say it's a bad trade. Would you trade up a second round pick to go 10-1? You would every year. Were the returns after that first year? They were zero. They were absolutely zero and took up a roster spot a few times. That was rough as well. And, that's what it is. So now here's the quote, okay? Here's the quote from John Lynch today. And I got this from Matt Barrow's article on The Athletic. He always does great work. This is John Lynch talking. Quote, "There's not enough hope and progress to see him playing for us moving forward." End quote. Yikes. That's rough. Got moved to the bench on that one. Not enough hope and progress. He's just not progressing. So they're moving on, but what does that look like? Because again, obviously they knew they were going to be moving forward. They knew that. But they did it anyway to free up some cap space into the future, right? American Patriot says this: "It was a good trade regardless. There was no way they could have known he was going to be this busted up and this bad." Yeah, it was something that just came up. He had some issues, but nothing like that. I'm with you there. So again, you look at the big contract. Yeah, it looks really, really bad. He got $41 million. It's not our money. I care more about the cap space that was taken. But now the question turns to, when is he going to be released? You can't release him right now. You can't, because if you do, you lose $7 million cap this year, 7.5 to be in fact. It costs more to cut him. You have to move on from him post June 1st. that 6/1 cut date. That's the way the NFL contracts roll into the future, right? So the reason why they restructured him, so first off, this doesn't even affect this year's cap hit. This year's cap hit is $14.5 million. That's not changing regardless of when and if you cut him, okay? But if you cut him June 1st, then listen to these cap hits because it goes for a long time. 5 years, 5 more years of cap hits, but they're very minimal. This year, $14.5 million. That's huge. Next year, $5.8 million. Then 2024, just under $1 million, $920K. 2025, that year is going to be $920K. Then 2026, it's going to be $920K. So basically what happened with the restructure is he agreed to spread out that $7.5 million cap hit instead of just all of it next year in 2023. If he didn't restructure, that's what would have happened. It would have been ripping the Band-Aid out. Dee Ford did another solid to the 49ers by basically saying, hey, you can spread this out over 4 years, no problem. I'll be happy. It's Bobby Bonilla, right? Like, that's the idea. So he's going to be getting paid all the way into 2026. They're void years on his contract. So once he's released after June 1st, he's still got those paydays coming. And, I'll say this. Never be upset when a grown man gets paid. That dude ruined his body for the NFL and for the 49ers. And did he get paid out? Yes, he did. And it's not your money. It's not my money. I hate that the cap value goes there and not to other people, but I am very happy when people get paid. But yeah, it did work out. I see this. Tarad, he says, man, 18 games played since 2019. It's bad, man. He just didn't play that much. And that hurts. I love this. John Lynch and 3 myths. We had a look at Dee Ford in trading. He feels great, and I've signed him for 2 years, $19 million. It felt like, 3 straight off seasons in a row. Oh, man, we're happy. And, we're hopelessly optimistic, I believe is the phrase that they used. So, you take that. It's what it is. And, yeah, here we go. Brian Carter. What's up, Carter? Dee Ford post June 1 retirement cap cost. That's what it is. So the restructure added these extra void years to spread out that $7.5 million. Because you could just rip the Band-Aid off right now. But if you do that, the 49ers would be $5 million less in the cap, all those things. So by him restructuring, basically we'll be able to do the Deebo Samuel, sign him to a long-term deal with this cap. It's going to help. And I'll say this again. I said this last year. If Dee Ford didn't restructure his deal last year, right before free agency, we don't get to keep Trent Williams. We lose him to the Chiefs. So be pissed at Dee Ford all you want for the injury, whatever. I don't care, but please be educated. You listen to this podcast. This is what we do here, okay? We're not Hot Take Central. That's not what I'm about. That's not what you're about. That's why you clicked on this. Allow the nuance and context to set in of everything that Dee Ford was a major hit, worked perfect, scheme fit, absolutely home run. First year, then injuries again. Then he took a restructure, pushed his money to the future whenever he could have got paid all of it anyway to help the 49ers sign Trent Williams because he was under the plan of he was betting on himself. Didn't work out. That bet didn't pay off. Then this year, he could have said, nope, not restructuring. Give me all my money now. He didn't. Again, telling the 49ers, yeah, you do whatever you need to. Spread it out in 6 years. Cool with me. That's fine with me. So unselfish, and I think he's a great dude. He's been a very positive vibe, no negatives whatsoever in the locker room. And I hate that this is how it ends. I really, really do. And so it's frustrating. It really is frustrating. I don't want to jump into all of the, what's it called? Jimmy G stuff. I'm going to be doing a video later today on that. I want to spend some more time and get some more information on that before we jump into that. Yeah, we'll get there. And I see this from Dan. What's up, Dan? Great human being right here, Dan. He says, what would happen cap-wise if he retired or we did an injury settlement? That's what the restructure was. So you can't cut an injured player because if you do, then you have to go through the whole injury settlement thing. If the player says, no, I don't want to be cut and I haven't passed the physical, you can't do that. So the restructure, the 49ers handled this themselves because whenever a player retires, all dead cap money on the extent of that deal comes off today's cap. Okay. So for example, just simplify things. Let's say a player had 5 years left on their contract, $2 million dead cap per year, 5 times 2, $10 million. So if that player retired now, that $10 million cap hit gets ripped off this year's contract. So again, this is Dee Ford. If you walk away from nothing else, I really hope you hear this, because I know sports and I know fans get pissed and I know fans want to lash out. Dee Ford is doing a solid for the 49ers in consecutive years by helping us with our cap issues. He doesn't have to do that. He's not making more money because of that. He is doing that because he's putting the team still. He's doing us a solid. So understand that. So Dan, I hope that answers your question, because that's what this contract is, this restructure. It's an injury settlement. It's, hey man, it's Dee Ford saying, y'all do what y'all got to do. Y'all paid me a lot of money. I understand I didn't come through on my end. And it's the 49ers saying, hey man, thank you for helping us out, in this. And that's just the way I see it. Maybe I'm in the minority here. Now, none of your business. Why do the 49ers keep drafting injured players? I'll say this. One, we didn't draft. We did trade for Dee Ford, and he did have injury history. Two, if you look at the last draft, we didn't touch one player with injury history except for Talanoa Hufanga, and that was in the 5th round. Aaron Banks, no injury history whatsoever. Trey Lance, no injury history whatsoever. Trey Sermon had some at Oklahoma, but then had 2 years at Ohio State where he was fine. Diamador Lenore, no injury history. Ambry Thomas, 0 injury history. He did have the issue with colitis the year before he played one more year, and then COVID, then we got him. But again, no injuries. He just had a medical condition that cleared up. Jalen Moore, no injury history. Elijah Mitchell, no injury history. Every free agent the 49ers brought in last year, 0 injury history. Arden Key, none. Sampson, none. Alex Mack, none. So if there's one lesson that they have learned is, I'm seeing your message is in all caps right here. The last 2 years, the last year, they didn't touch it. This year, look who they brought in. No injury history. You can go down. Oren Burks, no. Charvarius Ward, no. I mean, none of the guys they have brought in. Hassan Ridgeway, no injury history. So, why, yes, it has been an issue if you go back to Trip Baalke, and if you go back to the first couple years of John Lynch and Shanahan. I'm sure you're probably referencing Javon Kinlaw. That's fine. That's a legit criticism. But the past year calendar, 0. One of them was a 5th round pick who had a chronic shoulder issue. Whatever. Like, if that happens, then we kind of move on there. So you look at that. It's rough. It's not happy. I hate that it ends this way. And I'm very thankful for Dee Ford. And the reason why, and this may be the lasting impact of Dee Ford on the 49ers. He showed Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch and this entire coaching staff what can happen if you put an elite speed edge opposite of Nick Bosa. I think that's the number one takeaway. You've seen what it could be. You got pick 61. If there's a speed edge rusher there, I hate to tell you guys this. Yeah, some people get upset at this because it's a luxury pick. But when this defense had Bosa plus a speed edge guy, it was the best defense in the NFL. It was the best defense in the NFL. Period. If you can do that, if you could replicate that, watch out. So Dee Ford is done. Not sure when the transaction will take place, but it will definitely be after 6/1. You guys are incredible. Thank you so much for turning this quick broadcast. I'll be back later today talking about Jimmy G and all those other quotes. There's so many quotes. Golly. But we'll be back with that. Thank you guys. And as always, stay strong, faithful.